and playing a couple games around is the idea of epigenetics, which is a type of genetics. So to start out with, it'd be really helpful to have a sense for what background or experience you've had so far. So does anyone, are you familiar with the concept of DNA? Great. So does anyone want to tell me briefly what you know about DNA? What you think about DNA?
You know what DNA stands for? That's really close.
Yeah, super close.
Ribonucleic acid. That's not important to what we're going to talk about, but I think it is a fun fact.
It's kind of the basics of what what we're going to talk about today. And we do have a video that helps explain this, but I'm going to do a worse job, I guess, verbally while we get the video up. So when you think about the human genome, right, it's the way that your DNA is read to code for your cells, essentially. So it creates the way that your body works. So epigenetics is...
Here we go.
We can inherit a lot.
I figured it out, guys.
Nope, this is the one from yesterday.
So epigenome means on the genome. So it means on top of. So it is going to be explained. Sorry, everybody. I don't subscribe to YouTube Premium, so we got to skip half of that.
Yes. But so your DNA contains all of your genes. Genes are what make up genetics. And so what we're concerned about is epigenetics. So all the stuff that happens on top of your DNA. And this TED Talk will do a better job than we can.
Here's a conundrum. Identical twins originate from the same DNA. So how can they turn out so different, even in traits that have a significant genetic component? For instance, why might one twin get heart disease at 55 while her sister runs marathons in perfect health? Nature versus nurture has a lot to do with it, but a deeper related answer can be found within something called epigenetics. That's the study of how DNA interacts with a multitude of smaller molecules found within cells, which can activate and deactivate genes. If you think of DNA as a recipe book, those molecules are largely what determine what gets cooked when. They aren't making any conscious choices themselves. Rather, their presence and concentration within cells makes the difference. So how does that work? Genes in DNA are expressed when they're read and transcribed into RNA, which is translated into proteins by structures called ribosomes. And proteins are much of what determines a cell's characteristics and function. Epigenetic changes can boost or interfere with the transcription of specific genes. The most common way interference happens is that DNA, or the proteins it's wrapped around, gets labeled with small chemical tags. The set of all of the chemical tags that are attached to the genome of a given cell is called the epigenome. Some of these, like a methyl group, inhibit gene expression by derailing the cellular transcription machinery or causing the DNA to coil more tightly, making it inaccessible. The gene is still there, but it's silent. Boosting transcription is essentially the opposite. Some chemical tags will unwind the DNA, making it easier to transcribe, which ramps up production of the associated protein. Epigenetic changes can survive cell division, which means that they could affect an organism for its entire life. Sometimes that's a good thing. Epigenetic changes are part of normal development. The cells in an embryo start with one master genome. As the cells divide, some genes are activated and others inhibited. Over time, through this epigenetic reprogramming, some cells develop into heart cells and others into liver cells. Each of the approximately 200 cell types in your body has essentially the same genome, but its own distinct epigenome. The epigenome also mediates a lifelong dialogue between genes and the environment. The chemical tags that turn genes on and off can be influenced by factors including diet, chemical exposure, and medication. The resulting epigenetic changes can eventually lead to disease if, for example, they turn off a gene that makes a tumor-suppressing protein. Environmentally induced epigenetic changes are part of the reason why genetically identical twins can grow up to have very different lives. As twins get older, their epigenomes diverge, affecting the way they age and their susceptibility to disease. Even social experiences can cause epigenetic changes. In one famous experiment, when mother rats weren't attentive enough to their pups, genes in the babies that help them manage stress were methylated and turned off. And it might not stop with that generation. Most epigenetic marks are erased when egg and sperm cells are formed. But now, researchers think that some of those imprints survive, passing those epigenetic traits on to the next generation. Your mother's or your father's experiences as a child or choices as adults could actually shape your own epigenome. But even though epigenetic changes are sticky, they're not necessarily permanent. A balanced lifestyle that includes a healthy diet, exercise, and avoiding exposure to contaminants may, in the long run, create a healthy epigenome.
So I jumped ahead a little bit. We're from Washington State University. I'm a professor there, and Kyra.
Sure. I am a research project manager. So we work for the same research institute in WSU. It focuses on various Indigenous public health projects.
My tribe's in Northern California and Southern Oregon. I'm Taloa and Chetco, and Kyra and I both individually had an interest in epigenetics, and kind of came together a couple of years ago working with NBIRI on a project. And we were interested in exploring kind of how unique Indigenous experiences impact our epigenome, but not only in a lot of the negative ways that we often hear about or talk about, so things like intergenerational trauma. We were also curious to understand how things like culture and close connections with grandparents and other community members, things like this can have a positive impact on our epigenome and increase our opportunities for health as we age, and our opportunities for our children's and our grandchildren's health, kind of across generations. So that is some of the research that we do. And what we were hoping to do with you now, we had a couple of activities, but I think given the shorter time on this one, what we're going to do is a dice game. So I'm going to ask everybody to get in pairs, and that person next to you is going to be your twin for this game. So what we're going to do is have you roll some dice, and each roll of the dice will impact your kind of developmental trajectory across your life. And at the end, we're going to look and see how similar or different those choices or dice rolls that you made impact your health from your twin who's sitting next to you. So, oh, I do. Okay. Do you want to give everyone a dice?
Yes. Okay. Come on, pair up. Everybody gets one?
Yeah.
Everybody.
For some reason it went to something else instead of downloading.
So like I said in the video, there's all of these ways that our environment and our behavioral choices impact the way our body understands our genes. So we'll play a little game and it'll have more instructions, but talking about the ways that things like having a healthy diet, exercising, or smoking, and other kinds of health activities, we all know those impact your health. And we're interested in the ways that that is written on top of our DNA. So we have a project that we have been developing for a while that will hopefully look into that over generations, where we can get hopefully families where we have, grandma, mom, and baby, and we can see how things like participating in ceremony and keeping cultural language practices alive might have an impact at like the genetic level, really. And an opportunity for us to make choices that impact not just our lives, but the lives of our families that come after. And for now, you all just have dice.
Do you have paper in your folders? Do you have a pen?
I think you all have pens and paper from at least the basket.
If you,
we can always use the basket.
If you don't, let me know and we can give you some paper. Will you send me the link? Each of you will need paper and a pen.
Yes. Just gonna give you the back of something to work on. Hopefully that's fine.
I wasn't here for the slide, but
I can go.
Okay, I have a couple pens. Does anyone?
You don't want to mute too well.
Okay. So, what we're going to do, if you look at this life event table up here, is each of these, you can see your age on the left and your dice roll and the event. So if you just want to write these ages on your piece of paper.
So we write down
4,
10,
10,
17, 30, 55, 75. I'll put a line next to all of them so you can record what your dice says and what that means, and we'll show you what it means in a minute. I'm going to rewrite that up here, though.
Oh, yeah. We're just using the backs of these. We printed two.
So well.
Okay. So then the assumption is that right now you are all just born. You are exactly genetically identical to your twin, your partner. So if each of you could take the dice and roll it once, and mark down what number you got next to age 4.
Me, that's a 3.
So Kyra got a 3, which means she refuses to eat her vegetables. Did anyone get anything different? 4? Okay, so you're scared to play outside after you got attacked by bees.
That's rough.
Did anyone have any positive experiences at 4? 6? Okay, you unfortunately put your pet turtle in your mouth and you got salmonella.
Does anyone love to eat fruits and veggies? Can we get any ones?
Okay,
All right.
great. Okay. Did anyone like to play in the park? Great. Okay, so you're outside, you're getting some physical exercise. So mark yours down. Okay, now we're going to move on to age 10. So each of you roll your dice again. Okay, what are some of the numbers that people got? 1. Okay, so you joined a T-ball team. So that means not only are you getting outside, getting some exercise, you're also forming social connections. You're learning how to work as a group and potentially making, lifelong friendships. 2. So you like helping your mom cook healthy dinners. So you're learning about food, you're eating well, and you're also reinforcing that strong connection with your mother or your caregiver. That's what some other folks get.
Anybody eating pizza and soda every day?
Yeah, okay. So you may be having a good time, enjoying yourself, but unfortunately, you're probably going to be
Lots of salts.
lots of
fat.
salts. Yep. Yeah. So look at your partner, your twin. Does anyone have exactly the same dice rolls or life behaviors or opportunities as your twin? Yeah. So you can see that even by age 10, some of these behaviors or decisions that a child might be making might be diverging them in health outcomes or health opportunities from a person who they were previously genetically identical to. Let's move ahead to 17.
Dice like me today.
3. Okay, so someone had a 3. You are not getting very much sleep at night. 5. Okay, so 5, you dropped out of high school and got a job at a fast food restaurant. So that could go kind of either way. You could be, contributing, making financial, having increased financial opportunities. You may be able to eat better and participate in other things. You also could be on your feet for a long time. It could be really stressful. And you may be missing out on social opportunities that you might have had at school. What are some of the other choices or decisions that people rolled? 4. Okay. You and the diseases. I'm so sorry. First it was, what was it? Yeah, first was salmonella, and now you have E. coli. But you did get to go on vacation, so a little bit of a mixed bag there.
Oh no, that's 30.
Oh, that was 30. Oh, you ate fast food. Okay, so no E. coli, but
Yeah,
you are
little
eating
treat
fast
instead.
food twice a week.
Yeah. Survived the turtle though.
You
That's
did survive
important.
the turtle. Okay. Anyone else? 17? What were y'all doing? What are you doing? This is the
You
age
both
you're
got
at.
one?
You both got one. Okay.
We're doing great at school.
Okay. So let's move to 30. Six. Okay. You work as a painter and you breathe in paint fumes every day. So you're having an environmental exposure to a potential toxin. And what's really important about kind of this age range between 17 and 55, so we're kind of right in the middle of that, is that if you choose to have kids, this is the age at which you might be doing that. So the exposures that you have had or the experiences you've had previously, kind of up to this point in your life, have the opportunity to also be impacting your children and actually your grandchildren as well. Because when a woman is pregnant, she has the genetic material inside her for her children as well as her grandchildren. So these opportunities are impacting not just you, but future generations as well up to this point. Okay, so what's happening to some other people at age 30?
That's much better than getting the E. coli.
Okay, yeah, teaching a yoga class. That's great. And 5 kids, number 5, you have 3 kids and you're worried about losing your job. So stress is really hard on the body, and it contributes pretty negatively to epigenetic markers. So we're going to quickly go through the rest of your life. Age 55.
Speed roll.
2, you started gardening as a hobby. So you might be doing vegetable gardening. You might be increasing the micronutrients that you're eating. You're probably getting outside, getting some physical exercise. What about some others? You got diabetes. Okay. And that is...
Might have been the fast food.
It might have been the fast food. Yeah. Okay, what about, let's do it one more time. We want to see how your life and your health differs from your twins. So age 75. Okay, what is happening to y'all later in life?
I was worried about retiring, but then I got to retire. Pretty cool.
That's great.
Really, fingers crossed.
You became a smoker at 75. Or you're, I guess, maybe settled into it. A pack a day. 3, you work on crossword puzzles every day and keep your brain sharp. Yeah. Okay, so what I want you to do is look at the number of roles that you have and add them up. So from 4 to 75, count up the total number that you had. So Kyra had 14. So then we're going to look at the total number of your 6 roles, and that's going to tell you what type of lifestyle you had across the course of your life. So Kyra had 14. She had a healthy lifestyle. So she is less likely to develop cardiovascular disease or diabetes. She is also more likely to be able to pass her positive epigenome, or those positive markers, on to her children and grandchildren. And Kyra, unfortunately, did not have a twin, so we can't see how her choices differed from her twins. But does anyone have a very different outcome than your twin? Yeah, do you want to share some of your numbers? Okay, yeah. So what do you think that would look like? Imagine you made those decisions across your life. What do you think each of you what might your health be like? Yeah.
Well, like Rachel said, these accumulate over time, and the things that happen, before we decide to have kids, if we decide to have kids, they all matter, and they matter to the next generations. So the choices we make we get a chance to rewrite our own stories and to help write the stories of the folks who come after us.
But importantly, as they said, these are sticky, but they're not permanent. So you can be making these unhealthy choices, before age 30, whatever. You can always change them and have the opportunity to rewrite your epigenome. So nothing is deterministic, nothing is set in stone. These are just patterns and trajectories, but it doesn't mean that those patterns or trajectories, either way, unhealthy ones or healthy ones, you can make decisions to change those over the course of your life.
I think we're out of time. Thank you all.